Good evening, everyone. Hey, welcome into the live stream. So, hey, define yourself as I am the Confident Autistic. You can call me Chris, and this is the Confident Autistic Live. The Confident Autistic Live is a weekly live stream where I interact with you and other adults on a late autism journey. Now, before we get going here, say hi in the chat. Let me know where you're watching from, and I will keep an eye on that. And before you get too far into this tonight, I need to let you know that the wild stuff's going on here. Okay, just a lot of wild stuff. Um, we may have an interruption with something going with family, but I hope not. But if we do, we'll work through it together tonight. So say hi in the chat. Let me know where you're from. Tonight we are going to build a top 10 list of things that make life easier on our autistic journey. So while I'm sharing my list of 10, I would like you to add your own things that makes life easier on your autism journey, and we will add it to the list. But first, if you're new here, this is a safe space, a judgment-free zone where we can better understand ourselves and each other and start living confidently autistic. So please be respectful of other people's views in the chat that may be different than yours. Now, before we go any further, I want to thank all of our subscribers. Last week we were at 355. We're still at 355. But in true transparency, I would like to tell you we lost one subscriber this week, but we got a new one to replace that person. So thank you to each and every one of you that subscribed and remain subscribing to this channel. I truly appreciate that. I really do. I cannot put into words. And let's help this channel grow. If you can like this video, share this video, and comment on the video, whether you're watching this live or in recording, and that will help the algorithm on YouTube get more people to discover this video. And if you subscribe to this channel, that helps our channel grow because we're trying to get to our goal of 1,000 subscribers. So I really appreciate you doing that. Now, I have a free gift for you, okay? It's the Live Confidently Autistic. It's a guide to understanding yourself and building confidence. It's a 27-page free PDF, okay? This PDF will help you embrace your neurodivergence with pride, overcome self-doubt, and build lasting confidence, and navigate life authentically and unapologetically as your authentic autistic selves. Now, you can grab your copy at theconfidentautistic.com/start or scanning the QR code that right now appears on your screen. As I share the list, and we talked about this a little bit earlier, but as I share the list of the 10 things that I have tonight for you, I would like you to your input. So after each item on my list, uh, share your thoughts on it. I love to hear what your thoughts are. And I love to hear your experiences in the chat because chances are that somebody else who's watching this video, whether it be live or in archive, um, will have a similar experience. And when we do that, we get to know we're not alone and it brings us comfort. So let me, I'm sorry, I'm getting distracted by something here with, that I got to take care of here at the house. But we're going to get started here in a second. And with our top 10 list, there we go. That should take care of it. And let's get into it. Okay, are you ready? Let's get going. And you know when it does that. Okay, I'm trying to get my chat up here so I can see what's going on. And Vance is here. Good evening, Vance. Thank you for joining tonight. Okay, let's start our list here. Let me get the list going here because a lot of stuff going on. And we go there and we go here. Bada boom. Let's start with the list. And the first item on our list is a predictable routine. Now, for predictable routines, some of the things that we would like to discuss here is many autistic adults function better when life feels predictable. I know I do. This is a word I learned from my wife's grandfather. I called him Grandpa because he let me, but it was on my wife's side of the family. He passed away, but this is one of his words he would use when you got all confused, stressed out, anxious, whatever, or he would call it miscabubulated. I don't know if that's a real word, but that's the word Grandpa used, and I use that, and it describes how I feel when my life is not predictable. Another thing that when we talk about predictable routines include sudden changes can create stress or dysregulation. How many of you experience that? When there's a sudden change in what you're doing, does it cause you stress or cause you to get dysregulated? It does me. Oh gosh, yes, it does me. Let me fix something here. I have my curtain behind me open and it's overcast here and this the brightness in my eye was driving me bad. Anyway, that's my problem, not yours. Okay. So sudden changes can create stress or dysregulation. I know it does for me. And routines create safety and reduces our mental load. It does. And when we have a routine, it really makes us feel safe. We know what's coming. We know it's predictable, yada, yada, yada. And that is great. Okay. And it does reduce our mental load because we don't have to worry about, oh my gosh, what am I going to do? Because we have a routine, we have a plan, and we can execute that plan. Now, I got a question for you. How important is routine in your life? And what happens when your routine gets disrupted? Okay. For me, routine is very important in my life. And I kind of have a tug of war on this. I'll tell you why. I have autism and ADHD. The ADHD side of me likes to be impulsive at times. The autism side likes a lot of rigid, structured routines. And the two battle. It's like a little civil war inside of me. But it is very important. I do better when I have routines. It really does. I do like the impulsivity at times, but I have less anxiety and I'm more regulated if I have a routine and I stick to it. And I know I talked about this a few weeks ago, but I am working on developing some routines for myself. And what happens when your routine gets disrupted? Like I said earlier, I get miscabubulated. Here's something I'd like you to think about. You don't need to share this in chat unless you want to. Do you think people around you understand how important predictability can be? For me, I don't, I want to say I don't think so. Okay. But I also need to qualify that with I don't blame them because I don't explain it to them. Okay. I need to be more open with people about that, the predictability. I got to work on that. My wife understood it to some extent. We were working on getting to that point the last year and a half of her life. She was getting there. We weren't 100% there because she still sometimes interrupted me with from my routine or whatever for something she needed, which I don't mind. I mean, she was battling cancer. She needed help at times, but yeah, yeah, for me, people around me don't always understand, but then I don't tell them. I need to be more honest with them. That's something I need to work on. And it is important to me. Now, the second item on our list is noise canceling headphones or quiet space. Now, we need noise canceling headphones and quiet space for several important reasons. And the most, I think the one you can, I definitely agree with is sensory overload is exhausting. I think everyone who's watching this video could agree sensory overload is exhausting. And here's what I want to say about that. I know it is for me. This is why when I try and I look, I've been doing this for years, way before I knew I was on the spectrum. And once I discovered and was diagnosed I was on the spectrum, I realized that makes sense why I'm doing it. Everywhere I went in my life, I have had headphones since the Walkman came out in the early '80s. I've had headphones everywhere I go. Usually, I was listening to my favorite radio station when I lived in St. Louis, Hit Radio 103 KCR, best radio station ever. And then, as I progressed, moved out of the state and all, I would listen to other stations in my new local area. Or I would just cassette tapes full of '80s music or Weird Al Yankovic. I'm a big Weird Al Yankovic fan. But I did that because the sensory overload was exhausting. It could be the noise of, because I ride public transportation. It could be the noise of all the people talking on the bus. It could be any crowd anywhere. It doesn't have to be in a bus. It could be the traffic on the road. Now, the dangerous thing I did, and there were two dangerous things I did. I got to be honest. I want to confess. One, I had the volume way higher than I should. But back in the early days of the Walkman, we did not have anything that told us, hey, dude, you keep playing it this loud, you're going to have hearing problems when you get older. And today, I will tell you, I have some tinnitus, I believe it's pronounced, ringing in my ears. Okay. So I did that. And two, having the Walkman at full volume, and I realized this, I dialed it back a little bit, and crossing streets was a very bad and dangerous idea because I could, because of my visual challenges, I need to be able to hear the traffic as well. So I made sure I had it up loud enough I could block out the noise, but not so loud that I would block out a siren. So I would not get hit by an ambulance, or which I would be painful, but there would be a convenience there because the ambulance would be there for me, right? Okay, so we one of the reasons we need noise canceling headphones in quiet space because of sensory overload. Okay, we're going to go back to the routine here for a second. We got a comment here. Routine is very important to me. I am more relaxed with a good routine. So am I, Vance. I usually get very uncomfortable when my routine is interrupted. I get more than uncomfortable. I get rude. I get mean. I get grouchy. I get irritable. I start smarting off to people. So I take it up a notch. I don't know about you, but I take it up a notch. But let's get back to our number two, noise canceling headphones in quiet space. Another reason that we need this is sometimes people think headphones are antisocial. This is the thing we have to kind of address. Those who do not understand autism, don't know we're autistic, some of these people would think they're antisocial, but they can actually be self-regulatory tools. So if you're wearing a headphone somewhere and people think you're being antisocial, and first of all, they may not know you're autistic. They may not understand autism. And this is an opportunity, if you're comfortable, to share. And if not, that is on them, not you. Don't worry about that. That's their opinion, okay? Not a fact. Because our noise canceling headphones or quiet spaces are self-regulation tools. And no one should deny us that, okay? Well, maybe if you're in a courtroom, I've been watching a lot of court stuff on YouTube lately, and the court's being called to order. The judge may ask you to take off your headphones, especially if the music's loud enough that other people can hear it. But basically, nobody should deny you of this right. I feel it's a right we have to self-regulate ourselves and use self-regulation tools. And remember, quiet is not laziness, it's recovery. I think it's not only recovery, I think it's a coping strategy. It's a self-regulation strategy. There are times I'm very quiet in crowds, which, people would say, I can't believe you're really quiet because I'm very outgoing when I do these videos and all. But then when I was younger, I studied and wanted to work in morning radio, and I did some radio work. So you put me in front of a microphone and a camera, I'm Mr. Entertainment. But when I'm not in front of that or at a public appearance, which I did when I worked in radio or whatever, I am very withdrawn and quiet. And that's because, one, I don't like small talk. And two, it helped me stay regulated during a busy environment. What are some sounds that overwhelm you the fastest? Okay, for me, and I was talking to my sister-in-law yesterday. Tornado sirens. My sister-in-law's offspring. I'm going to say it that way. There's the reason. Offspring, and I don't mean that rudely. Let me just explain. My sister-in-law's offspring, who is my niece, he has preferred pronouns that are more gender neutral. So I just say offspring instead of daughter. Okay, it's an interesting. I'm going to be doing a video on this pronoun thing later. But tornado sirens really overwhelm me very fast. Now, I understand they're there. I understand they're important, okay, to alert people who are outdoors of severe weather. If you're not inside where you're watching your TV, have a radio on, have the alerts go off, whatever. So they're very important outdoors. I live right across the street. I mean, literally. I'm gonna do a video one of these days of where my house is and where the tornado siren is. Okay, it's literally across the street. Now, when they test it once a month. I think on the second Wednesday of the month. I can't remember. That thing is loud, and within 5 seconds, I'm yelling, "The damn thing works! Turn it off!" Nobody can hear me yell it, but I'm yelling it in here, and I'm covering my ears and all. And I try to remember it's going to happen. And I'll put my headphones on before the test and crank up my music. But this is one thing that overwhelms me the fastest, and it is irritating, if not a little bit painful to me. Now, during an actual tornado warning, when there's heavy rain and wind going around our house, the that noise from the wind and the rain muffles that tornado siren, so it's not as loud, but it's still annoying. But that overwhelms me the fastest. That or a crowded room or environment where a lot of people are talking, like restaurants. That overwhelms me very quickly. That's why when I went to a restaurant, Kim would go with me. She knew that. She started seeing that way before we knew I was on the spectrum. And she would talk to me one on one. And if she did that, I could focus in on her conversation. And that helped me filter out all the other noise in the restaurant and stay regulated. Let me check the chat here. Yes, the public emergency siren, train horns, people, and leaf blowers. People eating in leaf blowers. Yes, those are all. And we talked about leaf blowers, I think, last week too. Yeah, those are all very, very can overwhelm us, any of us. But everyone has their own sensory issues and things that overwhelm them. So whatever it is, you're welcome to share it here. There's no judgment zone. Now, do you have a quiet place where you feel safe and regulated? I kind of do. This office is one of my quiet spaces. The problem I want to say it's kind of a quiet place because I usually have my phone in here with me. Okay, I don't. It's not going to show up on the camera that well because I have the black background up there, virtual background. But I have my phone with me most of the time, so it beeps and chirps and people call me. But it can be my quiet place. Also, my bedroom. I got it downsized and all. And I was talking to my counselor about this, by the way, and I was telling him, I got the downside because the clutter bothers me. I don't know about you, but clutter bothers me. And I got the house done, and I told him I spent 6 months doing this. Okay, and well, I took breaks and all because grieving and other activities. But over 6 months, we took at least 8 pickup trucks full of stuff to be donated, a countless number of garbage cans full of junk that needed to be donated. I mean, garbage, and still the house is finally decluttered. I got to work on the garage next, but I got the house done. It took me 6 months. But I got the room set up in there, and I got the lights that I can control the colors of. I usually keep them blue because I love that color. It's so tranquil to me. And I also have set up on my AIs that if I ask my AI device to play Spotify, it plays a playlist of autism calming sensory friendly music that I set at a lower volume, so I really have to focus in on that and listen intently. And then I close my eyes and I will actually see like a kaleidoscope of colors that are moving to the beat of the music. So, and that's one thing that I do in my quiet place underneath my weighted blanket. And I feel safe and regulated there. My bedroom is my quiet place. Me too, Vance. It is my quiet place. Now, the weird thing is, I don't know about you. Okay, nice quiet place, and all until my cat comes in there and wants me to come and feed him, and he's very loud and he does not give up. He's very persistent. Otherwise, it's just a nice quiet place. Right. Item number 3: safe foods or comfort foods. Food isn't always just food. No, no. I mean, we already know that. We know this food that, helps us grow, gives us nutrition, makes us healthier, or the junk food that makes us less healthy and keeps my doctor and gives my doctor the ability to pay off for student medical school loans. But food isn't always just food. Okay, and so this is important to know. And part of what goes on with us with food, those of us on the spectrum, at least some of us, texture can be a challenge. Sometimes there's stuff that we like the touch of, other times there's stuff we don't like. I do not like the touch or texture of a banana. I'm not talking about the inside. Well, the inside is yucky to me as well. Just the skin of it. Now, my mom and I share a house. I take care of her, and she has some ambulatory issues. She's 87, so that's normal at that age. And she would like me to bring her a banana at times. I cringe over that. I hate touching bananas. Don't like that stuff. And when there's residue on plates, like ketchup, barbecue sauce, whatever, sticky stuff, I hate that touching my skin. It had nothing to do with eating; it's more the cleanup. But I call that ooey gooey. I would tell my wife, "This ooey gooey stuff," and like, yeah, get that away from me. But texture is one thing that it could be a plus for us or a minus. Like things that have great textures that we love to touch, we may want to eat those more. Textures we do not like in my case, bananas, we don't want to not only not touch, we have no business eating, okay? Now, when we come to the topic of safe foods or comfort foods, and important that the texture is comfortable for us, that is predictable, and familiarity matters. I'm probably going to do a video on this a little bit later. I was in a discussion today on a social media site that for my neighborhood and surrounding neighborhoods, and somebody had posted, you know, we want to ban fast food restaurants within the city limits and support local businesses. Now, first of all, I want you to know, if you're a business owner, because I'm kind of a business owner myself, I do want to support local businesses, but I'm not for banning fast food. Because if I go, when I traveled, okay, I love Applebee's. I go to Applebee's here. I can go to Applebee's in St. Louis. I can go to Applebee's in Kansas City, Tulsa, Oklahoma, Dallas, Texas. All those places I've been to Applebee's. Iowa, I've been to Applebee's. Okay. Every Applebee's I go to, I know what to expect. I know I'm going to get good ribs. I'm going to get great steak. I'm going to get Pepsi. Okay. I would like to tell you one thing about this. Okay. In Arkansas, which I'm near that border, we went down to Arkansas once, and every Applebee's we visited down there, except one, was Coke. And now I have nothing against Coca-Cola, but I just don't care to drink it. I prefer Pepsi. And I would walk in, you don't have Pepsi? I turned around and walked right out. It's got to have Pepsi for me because that's predictable. I'm comfortable with that. They didn't have Pepsi. I'm going to eat somewhere else. Uh, and that's why I like chain restaurants, fast food, sit down restaurants, whatever, because no matter where I'm at, I know what I'm going to get and what I can order. It's not a new environment and I have to go through, oh my gosh, what's the food going to taste like? And in the same way, McDonald's, my favorite is McRibs. The rest of the food, I used to love it, but I've gotten older and I think I developed taste or the food has changed. I don't know. Anyway, not slamming McDonald's, but my favorite is McRibs. So I know I can go to McDonald's anywhere in the country when McRibs are available. I'm going to get a great McRib. Okay. That is just me. And I say the way about shopping. I'd rather shop at a Target or Walmart anywhere in the country than a mom and pop store. And not because I'm against small businesses, not at all. But I go into Target, wherever it is, and it's familiar because all of them have basically the same layout. I can go into any Target and know where in the store I'm going to be able to find the snack aisle or chocolate milk or the pharmacy or anything like that. It's not like I go to another city, go into Target and say, oh my gosh, I need a GPS system to get through the store. I know where stuff is. It's predictable. And I know I'm a little bit off topic on the safe foods or comfort foods, but the point is, for me, I like to eat at chain restaurants and go to chain related stores, big brand stores, because it's a familiar layout. I know what to expect. I know how things work. When you put me in an environment I'm not used to, I get stressed out. I get anxious. Speaking of stress, stress and anxiety can make eating harder. I do not know why this is happening, and I have talked to my doctor about it, and we've not ruled out it could be my diabetes. And I'm definitely afraid of needles. So we're kind of debating on doing this experiment where I get a Dexicom and they insert it into me for about a week or so. There could be a issue of blood pressure spike or drop when I first wake up in the morning, but most mornings when I wake up, I have intense anxiety. And that is so intense, I don't want to eat for several hours. So stress and anxiety can make eating harder. And what would make that better is having safe foods or comfort foods we can turn to when we're really anxious or feeling a lot of stress. Certain Indian or Mexican dishes are like eating or sedating drugs to me. Interesting. I don't eat Mexican or Chinese. Yeah, I don't. And I grew up in Missouri, in where I lived in St. Louis. This part of the country is known as meat and potatoes. We like steak, we like ribs, we like hamburgers, we like mashed potatoes, French fries, that kind of stuff, right? So I moved to California, which a lot of the culture in California does eat a lot of variations of food. A lot of Mexican food because there's a lot of Hispanic people in California, and that's fine. And my wife loved Mexican food, and I'm like, I can't eat that. I can't. And for me, part of the things that makes that's a safe food or a comfort food to me is the smell. It wasn't on my list originally, but I want to talk about it. There are certain foods that there's a smell that like I I don't know how you put that in your mouth right underneath your nose for that smell and then eat it. Okay, I just don't know how you do it. And one of the things with Chinese food, my wife loved Panda Express. I could not stand the smell from Panda Express. I'm sure it's a fine restaurant, but I just could not do it. Now, we had a Panda Express, and right around the corner from it was a Subway, and I love Subway. And in California, I think I shared this before, but in California, you can eat outside almost year round. So we would get food and meet at a table outside. I had my Subway, she had her Panda Express. The rule was she had to be downwind. Otherwise, I can't eat. Okay. So do you have a comfort food you can always go back to? If you do, share it in the comments. Now, I was asked this question the other day by my counselor. Do I have a comfort food? And I go through cycles. I can be honest with you. Uh, right now, uh, I am loving the Hostess apple pies. I love those things. They're $1.78 each. I remember, I'm going to sound old here, okay? How many, you may remember this too. Back in the 70s, they were 29 cents. I just have a problem paying $1.78 for apple pies. So I get one a week, but I do like those. But some of my other comfort food are Twinkies or Oreo cookies or Fudge Strike, Keebler Fudge Strike cookies. Or I love Dairy Cream Blizzards. Now I'm trying to find some comfort foods that have less sugar in it because I know this is going to sound shocking to anyone who's known me, but I'm trying to actually eat healthier. But a lot of my comfort food is junk food, and I'm working on getting better at that. Have people ever misunderstood your food preferences? For me, no. No, no one's misunderstood my food preferences. I've been known as a picky eater my entire life. Uh, I don't think that's uncommon within the autism community that we're known as picky eaters. There's certain things I won't eat. I won't even, and that was a big thing with me and my wife. She said, I don't care if you don't want to eat anything, a certain thing, but you got to try it once. And I'm like, I don't even want to try stuff once. Okay. George Carlin said this, and this is true. Garbanzo beans. Okay. He talked about that. He won't eat them. And he said, because the first part of the word garbanzo is garbage. Why would I eat that? you know? And I agree with him. I wouldn't eat that either. So it was a battle. I went out to a restaurant with a friend of mine with my wife several years ago. And he insisted that I tried something. I don't like trying stuff. People push me into it. I said, fine, I'll try it. And I almost gagged and threw up because I really did not want to try it, and it tasted weird to me. I'm sorry if you're eating dinner with that analogy, but anyway, yeah, I, I guess people misunderstand my food preferences when they want me to try something and I really don't want to try it, but they kind of, oh, you got to try it, and they pressure you to. I really feel that that's when people misunderstand my food preferences. Item number four, clear and direct communication, that is. For us on the spectrum, for many of us on the spectrum, I'm not going to say everyone because everyone, you meet one autistic person, you met one autistic person. But for many of us, guessing hidden meanings is exhausting. Although it gets you out of jury duty. I was sitting in a pool of people to be on jury duty, and the lawyer asked me a question. I can't remember what the question was. I looked at the judge and they said, "Does he mean A or does he mean B?" I had two ways I was interpreting the question, and the lawyer looked at me and said, "He's excused." So it did help in that case, but yeah, guessing what hidden meanings is exhausting to me. Many autistic adults prefer honesty and clarity. Oh, I do not understand why people lie. I don't. Probably why I don't understand politicians most of the time. But that's another story for another day. But many autistic adults prefer honesty and clarity. I certainly do. And I try to be very honest with people and very clear with people. Now, the other day, my great nephew was here, and he's on the spectrum. He's like in grade school, and he picked up. I'm going to show you this. He picked up one of these little easy buttons that I have in the garage. I have an extra one in the garage, and he was starting to throw it around. You know, toss it, throw it in the air, and catching it. And I told him, whoa, 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 let's not throw that in the air. And he looked at me. He said, I wasn't throwing it. I was tossing it. That's clarity. I used the wrong word because he was not throwing it like this. He was just tossing it and catching it, and he was right. And I realized I do that throughout my life. You know, um, and I tried using that defense for principles at school. Didn't really work. But if you're going to accuse me of doing something, say the right terms. And if I'm going to tell you something, I'm going to be as specific as I can. Now, mixed signals create anxiety. That's another issue that we have and why clear and direct communication is so important. Mixed signals could be someone could be saying something to you that, yeah, I'll be happy to go there, those words, but they say, yeah, I'll be happy to go there. Are they really happy, or that voice telling you they're not and they're just trying to be polite to you? I don't know. So those things kind of cause me some anxiety because I'm trying to figure out, what do they really mean? Why don't they just come out and tell me, you don't want to do this? Fine, just tell me. I'm cool with that. I don't know. What are your experiences with that? Let me ask you this question. Do vague conversations stress you out? Yeah, because I'm sitting there thinking, what the heck are they talking about? I don't get it. And like, other people probably get this who are neurotypical. I don't want to look like a moron and I'm getting frustrated. Why don't you just be specific? Quit beating around the bush. Those things do bother me. I don't know about you. And would you rather somebody be blunt and honest than subtle? I prefer the blunt and honest. Okay, I really do. I love the British. And they had this knack and being blunt and honest, but yet making you feel good about yourself. Have you ever seen the movie The Out of Towners with Steve Burton? And I think it was John Cleese was the hotel manager. Um, and there was a scene where he was at the front desk and some of the other hotel staff members were there, and he looked at this one young lady and said, "Did you get a new haircut?" And she nodded yes. And he said, "You may want to work in the back for a while." He was blunt, honest, but the British can be blunt and honest to you and polite at the same time. I love that skill of theirs. I could do the same. That's probably, I've had people back when I started in radio, people would call in and ask me, am I British? I don't have a British accent. And I finally figured it out because I'm that blunt and honest. I'm not subtle. I'll just tell you how it is. We had an expression when I lived in California. Um, Many people said this when they described me. You never wonder what Chris feels about you. You will know if he likes you or not. Okay, because I'm not good. I'm not good at. I don't want to be subtle. I'm just real. I'm just authentic with people. Hey, excuse me. Fifth thing on our list is recovery time after socializing. Every enjoyable socializing can drain energy. Whether it can, and what drains it even faster, at least for me, is unenjoyable socializing. In my case, any small talk. Okay, that what happens to us. Socializing can drain our energy, and recovery from that socializing does not mean you're failing. Okay, if you need some recovery time after socializing, does not mean you're a failure. You're respecting what you need. Many autistic adults need decompression time. I used to do things back to back to back to back to back, and by the end of the day, I was nowhere near anybody. Nobody wanted to be near me because I was grumpy and irritable because I was at too much socializing. So what we did, excuse me, what we did was this. We realized that my wife and I realized that even at the early parts of our dating, um, we would on holidays. I think I shared this before. I'm going to share it now. Again, if I did share it before, like on Thanksgiving, we would go and visit my parents for about a couple of hours, then come back to our apartment for about an hour or two, then go and see her parents and her side of the family for a couple of hours. That break between the two made a difference between me making it through those events pleasant and not too tired, or me getting to the second event right after the first and say, I want to go home. I'm done and be really antisocial. Now, how long does it take you to recover after social stimulations? My answer to that is it depends. It can be anywhere from an hour or two. It could be a day or two. I don't like going into town that much. I don't like leaving the house that much because a lot of people you have to interact with. And if I'm out of the house for even 2 or 3 hours, I come home. I'm exhausted for the rest of the day. And the next day, I'm like, I don't really want to do anything. So it takes me a while to recover after social situations, in person social situations. Those are harder. Now, online virtual ones, yeah, I'm a little tired after, but not as bad. Okay. I don't know why, but I'm not. Do people in your lives, so share your thoughts on, by the way, how long does it take you to recover after social situations? The other thing I like us to kind of think about here, do people in your life understand that recovery time is necessary? For me, I don't know if they realize that or not, or understand that it is. My wife did. Her family, I think, was understanding too because we did kind of explain it to them. My family, we really did not explain it to them that much, but anyone who knows I'm on the spectrum and knows about autism does get it, but I'm not sure if everyone else does. I don't know. What are your thoughts on that? All right, let's look at while I'm waiting for this to come in, let's move on to number 6, comfortable clothing. Now, one of the reasons that we like comfortable clothing and why this helps us, self-regulate and it's good for us is because texture sensitivity is real. I talked a little bit about this, I think, last week. I had this wonderful shirt that I got for being a guest on a podcast to promote the podcast, and beautiful shirt. And in the back of it, they had this heart-shaped image with an autism heart-shaped image with colors in it, puzzle pieces. I don't know. And then in the back, it had my name on it. And when I have the shirt on, I can feel that graphic through my back, and it drives me up a wall. And I don't like corduroy. I mentioned that as well. And for me to be comfortable, which will help me be more self regulated, calmer, I need to make sure I'm wearing comfortable clothing. Now, some things that are maybe uncomfortable for those of us on the spectrum include tags. I have been known to pull off some tags from my shirts, which my wife would get mad at me. She said, if you pull off the tags when you need to buy a new shirt, how do you know what size you need? My response was, I don't need to worry about that ever because you know my shirt sizes. Well, she passed away about 6 months ago, and I'm having to learn my shirt sizes. And she may have been right about that, but I'm starting to memorize them, so I'm good. I can continue tearing off tags that drive me up a wall. Tight clothing. Tight clothing can bother. It bothers me. I have a shirt. I'm not wearing it today, but I have a shirt that says sarcasm is just one of my many talents because I can be very sarcastic. The weird thing is, I can be sarcastic. I get sarcasm when it's on television, movies, and radio. But in real life, if someone's sarcastic to me, I need Leonard, like Sheldon needed Leonard. I need someone to hold up a card and say, sarcasm. I need that, okay? My wife and I got to a point when she was being sarcastic with me and she knew I was not getting it sarcasm. She would say bazinga, and that was ours code word that is sarcasm. But yeah, that sarcasm shirt, getting back to our point here, is really tight on me. And this is a really funny thing. When our clothing no longer fits and it's too tight, we blame it on the clothing. Oh, the clothing is shrunk. I don't know what happened. It's shrunk. It's gotten smaller. No, we have gotten larger, but no one wants to admit that. No, 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 no. Now, certain fabrics can become overwhelming for us or trigger or just we don't like it. For me, I mentioned this before, flannel. Flannel drives me up a wall and corduroy drives me up a wall. I don't like those textures. I don't like those touching me. And that can be a challenge for anyone on the spectrum. Now, our comfort can affect our emotional regulation. When we're not comfortable, we're more likely to get upset and tense and be emotional, okay? I know that when I'm not comfortable or when my routines are upset or anything else we talked about so far on this list and coming forward, it causes me to have trouble with emotional regulation. It truly can affect that. So comfort is very important to me. I have a jacket. I believe it's a rain jacket. It's a really nice jacket. I've had it for over 20 years. I think maybe even 25 years. I don't know. Maybe even longer. I don't know. But I know I had at least 20 years ago. And it's seen better days, okay? And now the zippers in the pocket won't work or and all. And I gotta get a new rain jacket. I don't want to because that's so comfortable to me. So I'm trying to find a new rain jacket that has a hoodie on it, that has zippers and all, and has mesh lining inside. Because that is one of the most comfortable pieces of clothing. I will wear that at times for that mesh feeling against my skin. And that helps me calm down and regulate because that mesh inside there. Now, you can't find a lot of mesh clothing like you could back in the 80s and 90s. At least I haven't been able to. So that jacket is very comfortable for me. So I'm going to look for a new jacket, but I'm going to keep that one. The old one, probably won't wear it out in public anymore, but have it so I can wear it in the house when I need to self regulate. My recovery from social activities varies depending on whether it's a phone call, text, or in person. I totally agree. I don't mind text messages. I love text messages. I like email too. I don't like phone calls. I talked about this, I think, last week. But Jim Gaffigan, it's in one of his routines. If you're calling me on the phone, you better be calling me to tell me that both your hands have been amputated and you can't text anymore. Otherwise, text me. I don't like phone calls. They're very uncomfortable for me. Like somebody calls me and I'm like, when do I get off this call? I don't like it. So yeah, I can agree. That exhausts me. Phone interactions, personal interactions also is more exhausting to me than say text messages or email. So back to our comfortable clothing topic. What clothing textures bother you the most? I kind of mentioned mine, which is flannel and corduroy, really bother me a lot. I think a little bit of leather bothers me too, as far as clothing. Belt, no, but if I have a leather jacket on and I feel the outside of the jacket, yeah, that bothers me. And do you have a favorite safe outfit? Well, I talked about my rain jacket that I love is blue. I love it. I don't want to lose it. I got to find a new one. Anyway, I won't go through that again. But that is safe to me. And I usually wear t-shirts or polo shirts. And I don't know if I would say I have a safe outfit, but I know that you get me in a dress shirt with, all the way button up, button down. I'm very uncomfortable and it's irritating to me. And I don't feel like it's who I am. But you get me in a polo shirt, that's me dressing up, or a t-shirt. I'm comfortable. I feel very safe and secure. I can function well, but anything, I mean, at a wedding, I want to get married and all. I was happy about the idea, but I told my at that time fiance, I cannot and I will not wear a tie. So we finally negotiated. I got away with no tie. Um, Partially because my future father-in-law was like, yes, he did not want to wear a tie either. So it was really cool. But yeah, so my favorite safe outfit, I would have to say, is I have sweatshorts on and a t-shirt. That's probably my favorite outfit. Now, when I go out in public, I usually wear jeans. I don't wear sweats, but and a t-shirt. But yeah, that would be my safe outfit. All right, number seven, we're plowing through that pretty good. Is scripts for difficult conversations. For some of us to uh, to help us through difficult conversations, we need scripts. And even when I was younger, I needed scripts for uncomfortable or difficult conversations, or that most people would think were not difficult. Okay, rehearsing conversations can reduce anxiety. Okay, it does. Then you kind of know what to say. Now, I took it to the infinite point. I would think, okay, if I say this, they're going to say this, and then I hit plans for no matter what the reaction is. Then when I talk to the person, that person would say something I never thought of when I was doing the scripting. I went in my mind, I'm like, oh God, I did not expect that response. Can I go home and get back to you in the next couple of days with my reply? That's why I like text and email. It gives me time to kind of process it and come up with a good response. But anyway, rehearsing conversations can reduce your anxiety. And I used to do that. Okay. I still do it to some extent, but not as bad. Not for every little thing. I did in high school and my first, probably into my late 20s, early 30s. Okay. Now, another benefit for scripting is it helps us organize our thoughts, which is very important to be able to do. So we don't do what I'm doing right now, act like a babbling idiot. Okay. So that does help us. And then having our thoughts organized reduces our anxiety, our stress, and helps us stay regulated. Now, many autistic adults mentally prepare before interactions. Do you do that? I do that, not with everyone, but with a lot of people. Actually, now I think about it more, I do that probably with everybody. I mentally prepare. Like, I'm going to go and have a conversation with my mom. I mentally prepare because my mom loves small talk. I can't stand small talk. So I got to mentally prepare myself for that. So let me ask you a question. Do you rehearse conversations in your head beforehand? I have done that in my life. And at times I so do. Not as frequently as I used to, but I do that. What kind of conversations create the most anxiety for you? For me, small talk, we mentioned that before. That does cause me the most things. I think that would be the most anxious for me. Uh, it used to be phone calls to anyone I've never talked to before or to businesses and all. But from the fact that during our marriage, that became my job because my wife worked as a customer service rep. And when she got home, the last thing she wanted to do was deal with the phone. And my mom does not like making phone calls, so I became the phone call person, and that kind of forced me to deal with that to some extent. But what creates most anxiety for me is small talk, and it drives me up a wall. The second would be um, the second for me would be phone calls. Phone calls, people calling me. And anyone who knows me wonders, why doesn't Chris call me? It's nothing personal against you. I don't like talking on the phone. I rather chat and text messages. I love that. That another great thing that we need to have is one person we don't need to mask around, because masking is exhausting. I think we can all agree on that. Feeling emotionally safe matters very deeply. And even one accepting person can change everything. Do you have someone you can fully relax around? For me, that was my wife, and not fully. I mean, it's been almost 2 years since I received my official diagnosis, and we're making progress on it. I still had trouble masking around her, and I still at times, but I was starting to unmask more and more with her, and I was comfortable with that. But that's the one person that I fully feel I can relax around. I will also say my doctor. My doctor is part of the story of how I got my diagnosis. Um, because I told her I was having some issues that are very common in the autism community, and she said, "Oh, that's not uncommon for somebody on the spectrum." And she was, I think she knew it before I knew it, and she's very supportive of my search and my struggles with it. So I can be myself around her. In the waiting room, not that much, but around her, I can. All right. So, do you have someone you can fully relax around? Hopefully, it's like your spouse if you're married, or it's someone close in your family or close friend. We all need that. What does it feel like when you don't have to mask? For me, oh man, that it's like a humongous weight has been lifted off my shoulders. It feels free. That'd be the way I would describe it. What about you? What does it feel like when you don't have to mask? I do run simulations of social interactions and a review conversation. I do the same. I do the same. I think, what can I done better? I call it my own debriefing. The ninth thing on our list is knowing our sensory triggers. Awareness of what our triggers are changes everything. If we know that there's something that triggers us and we're aware of it and we know it's going to be coming or and we have a plan for dealing with it, we could do great. I was out in the garage the other day with my great nephew who is also on the spectrum, and neither one of us really like a lot of loud noise. And there was stuff being moved that's going to make a loud screeching sound as it's being moved across the floor and wherever it's being moved to. So my niece-in-law, that's my nephew's wife, warned us there's going to be a loud screeching noise. So my nephew and I put our fingers in our ears to help that because we were both aware these loud noises were sensory triggers for ourselves. And we had a plan. We knew we need to protect our ears. Now, many late diagnosed autistic adults spend years confused about why they felt or feel overwhelmed. Okay. And once we are getting to the point that we suspect we're on the spectrum, self identify as autistic, or have received or pursuing a late diagnosis of autism, we start to understand. And the more we learn about autism, we start to understand why, oh, I felt overwhelmed. It happened to me. Now I understand why I got overwhelmed all the time when I went to a restaurant because of sensory issue, because of the noise. And that knowing that and helped me understand there's nothing wrong with me. It's just how I'm wired. And I came up with a plan to deal with that. And that was having a one-on-one conversation with someone there. Now, identifying triggers can reduce shame. That's important to know. If you can identify the triggers that you're having, is and you can identify the triggers that could cause you to get miscabulated, as we talked about earlier, that can reduce shame because you know about the triggers and you can have a plan for dealing with those that came up, or you can avoid situations that can have those triggers so you're not embarrassed around other people. Okay. We have a comment in the chat here. Not having to mask is definitely a tremendous relief. I could not agree more with that. I just couldn't. What sensory triggers surprise you once you understood autism better? I don't know which one surprised me the most. You can answer this in the chat as well. What sensory triggers surprised you that once you understood autism better? I don't know. I don't think it surprised me the most. I'm thinking sound and smells and textures and taste. And none of them surprised me because I was aware I had them. But what happened is that I got to understand this more. I realized there's nothing wrong with me. It's just how I'm wired. So it did not surprise me, but it gave me relief once I started understanding autism better. What overwhelms you faster than other people realize? Noise. It's got to be noise. Noise. Okay, noise, and then and small talk. People can start a small talk conversation, one sentence, and I'm already overwhelmed, stressed out. Like, somebody says, "Hey, it's kind of warm today," and like, why are you telling me something that's very obvious to me? It's like that commercial, that spokesperson. I can't remember what hotel chain it was for or booking company it was, but Captain Obvious is like, thank you, Captain Obvious. I love that. There's a commercial, and I wish I could find it. Um, it ran during a Super Bowl one year, and these two young ladies were sitting out in the park. It's middle of winter; it's kind of cold. Sitting on swing sets, and they were talking. They got a message and a picture from a friend of theirs that was on a beautiful beach, and they one turned to the other and said, "Why is she there and we're here?" Captain Obvious looked down towards the ground near them. There was a little um, a stroller. Captain Obvious looked up and said, "Condoms," which is an obvious thing. So, to me, I don't know why I went that route, but here's the thing. Small talk overwhelms me faster than people realize. And people do not realize just starting small talk with me, I become overwhelmed. I become defensive. Like, I'm not comfortable with this. Let's stop this. And I can get really smart. I like smart mouth and sarcastic when someone's doing small talk with me. My response to lights, emotional emotions and certain sounds made more sense to me after knowing myself. Good point. Yeah. My response to sounds and small talk and smells and scents and textures and certain foods and all. I kind of the same reaction. It's like a light bulb moment. Ah, that's why I don't like this stuff. That's why I feel overwhelmed during all of that. So I totally get that. And And the last thing on our list, and we're running long tonight, my apologies, is permission to say no. This is an important thing that we need to do to help ourselves. Many adults, many autistic adults, that is, are people pleasers and have been for years. I know I am. It's also known as fawning. I have done that for years because I because of my autism, my behavior issues, whatever, I've lost a lot of friends, I've offended a lot of people. So I go way to the other extreme of trying to be a people pleaser. And when I do that, I'm miserable. So I'm getting to the point now that I know I'm on the spectrum and I'm very open about that. I'm like, I don't want to be a rude a-hole, but I'm not going to hide things. I'm at the point in my life I don't care anymore. I'm 60. I don't really care. You like me, fine. You don't. I don't care. Okay. And speaking of permission to say no, constant explaining becomes exhausting. Okay. And the constant explaining, when you say no, people say, why not? Well, and then you have to explain why the noise is there and all of that. And then they get to the debate with you, like, oh, it's not really that noisy. They don't know you. And that becomes explaining, and it becomes exhausting for us. Because we feel like we have to defend who we are, and nobody should have to defend who they are. Maybe in a courtroom, but otherwise, in general life, we do not need to be forced into that situation. And it's important to know that boundaries are healthy. Whatever your boundaries are, figure out what they are, okay? And don't let anyone push you on the boundaries. Now, I'm not being judgmental here, okay? But when I was single and was dating, I had a few things. I'm using this as an analogy for boundaries, but I had a few things that were deal breakers in a relationship. Like, I did not want to be involved with somebody who was into illegal drugs. I did not want to be around somebody who smoked because um, I was concerned about secondhand smoke. I did not want to be around somebody who drank because of the history of alcoholism in my family, and those were I would be boundaries for me. I guess you were saying. And if I found somebody I was interested in them and found out, oh, you like drinking a lot, thank you, but no, I was not going to compromise my boundaries. And yeah, that did cut down some people and the number of people I could date or be around. But in the long run, it did help me find the right person to be my wife and all. So boundaries are healthy. Never let anyone cross your boundaries. Never. They're important. You need to have them. You need to make sure you protect them at all, pretty much at all costs. Do you struggle with saying no without guilt? Tell me in the chat if you do. Do I struggle with saying no without guilt? Yeah, I have I've felt guilty at times for saying no. And sometimes I feel even more guilt when I say yes when I really don't want to do it. Okay. That's even harder for me. As I've become aware of my autism, I have no problem saying no. I have no problem telling people I don't want to do that because it's too noisy, too peoply. I saw a meme once. I'd love to get a T-shirt that says "The world is too peoply." God, I think it is at times. But do I struggle saying no without guilt? Not that much anymore. I used to. Okay, what I do struggle with is saying yes without guilt when I really mean no. Have you gotten better at setting boundaries over time? I think I have. I don't know about you, but I think I have. I do feel guilty about saying no. I have too. I mentioned that a moment ago, but it's a great point. I'm glad that you shared that. I have felt that in my life, feeling guilty about saying no. But I realize the I got to take care of myself first. And if I say yes to stuff I should not be saying yes to, that's more likely going to cause me guilt, shame, and can even damage relationships. So that's one thing I've learned over life. Have you gotten better at setting boundaries over time? Oh, yeah. I've always been really good with boundaries ever since I was very interested in dating, settling down, and getting married. I had some firm boundaries. I mentioned that earlier about what I wanted and did not want in a potential partner. Um, and I've gotten really good about setting boundaries. And when I don't respect my boundaries, I feel very guilty inside. I feel kind of ashamed and regretful. So, because of those feelings, I don't like those feelings. So, I really do stick by my boundaries. Now it is your turn. What belongs in this list that we have missed tonight? Okay. So, go and put that into the chat, whether you're watching this live or watching it on archive. And let us know. Add to that list, okay? Because somebody may say, oh, yeah, that's true for me too. And here's a reflection question just for you. You don't need to share this unless you want to. What is one thing that genuinely makes life easier for you as an autistic adult? One thing. My answer is going to be weird, okay? Because the first thing that went through my mind is this ball, because it does help. But what is the one thing that genuinely makes life easier for me as an autistic adult? Knowing that I'm fine the way I am, that I'm on the spectrum, and learning more and understanding more about autism and how it affects me and how it affects other people. That genuinely makes life easier for me. I no longer feel like I'm broken or I'm an outsider or whatever. I know who I am, I accept who I am, and that is the one thing that genuinely makes life easier for me is knowing that I'm on the spectrum and understanding myself better and understanding autism better. So all the research and stuff I do for the channel, I do to share with you. But as I do the research I do for the stuff on this channel, it is actually making my life easier because I'm understanding myself better. I'm understanding my my great nephew better with his autism. I'm understanding my niece better with their autism. I think it's they, whatever. I can't, yeah, they, them, and that's the trouble. I'm getting off topic here, but I'll finish this rant. It's hard to do this and be grammatically correct. I don't know. I have not figured out all the grammar about that, but that's okay. Uh, so share that in the chat. What belongs in this list that we missed tonight? Love to hear what you're thinking about. Now, oops, I'm going to go back. There we go. Now, if this resonated with you, this video, do me a favor. Hit like so more people can find this video here on YouTube. Share this with someone who needs to hear it. And if you haven't already, subscribe to the channel for more conversations like this. Now, I'll be taking the next 2 weeks off from going live as I work on some behind the scenes projects that you will start seeing in the middle of the month of June. So, our next live stream, our next The Confident Autistic Live, will be Thursday, June 18th at a new time of 7 p.m. Central Daylight Time. Okay. So, that's in 2 weeks from tonight. Is it 2 weeks or three? It's 3 weeks. Okay, I'm going to be gone for 2 weeks. So third week, yeah. So 3 weeks for tonight on June 18th at 7 p.m. Central Daylight Time. So, which I believe, I'm going to check on my phone real quick here. Let me try something. I believe there's a special significance about that day. And let me find out for you, okay? I have this little app on here that tells me all these useless trivia about days. And this is, there we go. It's Autism Pride Day, June 18th. So we're going to be back live on Autism Pride Day. I'm pretty proud of that. I don't know about you, but I am. Anyway, nice little play on words there. So our next Confident Autistic Live, once again, will be Thursday, June 18th at a new time, 7 p.m. Central. So until next time, I am the Confident Autistic, reminding you to live confidently autistic. Have a great evening. Thank you all for joining, whether you watched it live or sat through the whole thing after it was broadcast live. Thank you very much for tuning in. Have a wonderful evening. Have a wonderful weekend. And I will, videos be coming up on my channel, new videos coming up on my channel pretty soon. And we'll talk again in 3 weeks from tonight. So take care and have a great evening.